to switch over to that. Okay.
Hi,
Yeah, hi
Shamla.
Sapna.
Hi.
Sorry guys, there was some technical issue, so we couldn't join at 4. Just waiting for a minute. Sapna will just wait for a minute before we
Sure.
start off.
Okay.
How much ever we planned, right?
It just does it. There's always a last minute glitch, you know.
Yes.
That's what I was asking, do we need, one more round? But then,
Yeah,
I mean, it's so sad your face is not there on Facebook.
on Facebook, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got a lot of. We just put up a story on Instagram
Uh-huh.
for any questions moms have on breastfeeding. So there's like already a lot of questions that we can cover.
Okay, so are we supposed to go
So
into questions or do we do a little talking?
no, we'll do a little talking and then we'll try to address the questions. We can always have
Okay.
another session if it's like really, really, lot of questions. Yeah.
Right, yes.
So I think we'll start off now.
Okay.
Hello everyone, Shamla here from Little Memory Box. So welcome to our series Birthing Bonds. I guess you guys would have already seen our previous talks, one again on birthing and another on education, on Waldorf education. So the idea behind Birthing Bonds is mainly to introduce new moms, expectant moms, mainly to empower them and raise awareness on issues of birthing topics such as lactation and also mindful parenting. So today here we have with us Sapna, who is a lactation counselor at the birth home. So Sapna has been in various roles, I guess, even before
Yeah.
this. So when I talked to her and also asked her, she's worked with IBM. She's been into marketing. She's been into sales, and also I guess counselor Sapna. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but probably we can start off with a little bit about yourself, your family, and how you got into this journey of helping moms with breastfeeding, which is a very, very important and important thing for any mom. Yes, please. Yeah,
Right.
over to you.
So I'm just going to switch between looking both at both the screens. Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
don't
Yeah.
mind me. Yeah. I started off my career as a student counselor, where I was helping. So there was an animation academy where I used to help students understand what course is best for them, and after that, then there was a stint where I was working in a BPO. Then we went into marketing, sales, uh, and then I even worked in Femina, the Pune edition, as a graphic designer. And so after marriage, then I moved. So all of this was when I was in Pune, and then I moved to Bangalore after marriage. It's after I had my kid that I got really passionate about breastfeeding. So we started on a great note, and so there was no issues. I did not really have any issues on breastfeeding as such. Just the beginning, okay, a little maybe a little sore nipples or something like that in the beginning. And over the period, I met a lot of mothers, with whom we kept interacting, and there were a lot of, they were having breastfeeding issues, and and helping them, just sail through it, So there's a breastfeeding support group where I gathered a lot of information, and from there I started helping a lot of mothers, through Facebook groups or even when we were meeting, so I was really passionate about getting into this field and starting as a lactation educator, but the problem was that I wasn't sure this was just like any other any other job that I did, I was just getting passionate and, it might just die down. That's what I thought. Okay, so then, I waited till, my daughter finished breastfeeding. So that was like close to 3 years. During that time, I was helping, other moms, but, after 3 years, I realized, okay, my passion is still there. And this is not something I want to let go. So that's how, I ended up being a lactation counselor.
Nice, nice. Okay. So, so how did you approach any were there concept of lactation counselors that time also in Bangalore, India, and 5 years back that you're talking about?
Right. It was there, but I would say that not, not full-fledged. Maybe a few here and there. In the hospitals, generally, what they do is they get a nurse, a sister, who's there, and there would be one of them who has educated herself on breastfeeding, and then she supports with whatever knowledge she has. The only problem that we kept seeing is that they're not updating themselves, okay, and it's just age-old traditions has been continuing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
yeah. So when like about my own breastfeeding journey, I was telling even my son is about 5 years. I also fed him till 3 years, almost till 3 years.
Right.
I also had initial issues, with respect to supply. The normal ones. I had a C-sec, so probably it was put on that saying that the supply was not that good. So initial 10 days to 15 days was a huge struggle.
Right.
And generally, I didn't know about lactation counselors that time.
Correct.
My gynac told me certain things, and probably our pediatrician told us certain things, but there was no structured one person that I could approach actually.
Right. Right.
So, since you mentioned some age-old stuff, so would you want to
Right.
address some of the common myths that you strongly feel against, or
Right.
that you would like to talk about in breastfeeding itself?
Actually, there's a lot. If I
Okay.
have to start listing, it's going to. I mean, the 1 hour is not going to be enough. But something through. So we do take classes as well. So something that we I got to know through classes is there is a tradition where I'm not sure. I don't want to mention which culture. Which part of state it is. Which part of the country. But they don't allow the woman to drink water.
Okay.
And that's for as long as she's breastfeeding. So it's like if she's breastfeeding for 2 years, she's not allowed to drink water for 2 years. And that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. I can't imagine a day, like an hour or two without without water. And these people are talking about 2 or 3 years without water. And so that's one. Second is, where they believe that, you should limit the time for feeds, that you're supposed to feed only every 2 hours, not before that. Okay, and the baby is crying and howling, but they say no, you're not supposed to, just 2 hours. Doctor said 2 hours, so not more than, you're not supposed to feed before that. So that is one, because we as lactation counselors, we always say feed on demand. Okay, because one, because the baby decides when it's hungry, right? And apart from that, it's also because it helps to increase your supply. The more the baby is going to drink, it works on a demand, and supply formula. So the more the baby, the more the baby is going to drink, the more your, the body is going to make milk. So, so that kind of, when they start restricting feeds, it's counterproductive, and then they go into the panic mode, and then they start doubting their supplies. It's like a vicious circle we fall into. And, and then, then these common ones, don't eat this, your baby will catch a cold, don't breastfeed after, having a hair wash because your baby will catch a cold. The baby's crying and the mother is waiting to dry her hair up, So, I know some of them, I feel sorry for the new mother because there's no enough support. Okay, because she is a first mom, she's not aware of what's happening. And then you ask her to go through all of this, and I'm sure it pains the mother to see the baby crying, but there are older people saying, okay, just wait, yeah, this is not the time to feed, right? And of course, then I think I would, like I said, I can keep going on and on about myths, but the last thing I would like to say is when they say that, okay, mother's milk is not enough, it's not filling. And then they start, Cerelac or, rice water and, so all of this, and it just interferes, everything that, a myth is always interfering. Right, and then that affects and the breastfeeding journey, and then it gets difficult, continue for a long time. So I think I'm going to put a full stop to the myths over here right now. Right?
No, this mother's milk is not enough, right? Like most people say, after a year, mother's milk is only water. There's no nutrition for the kids. So that is one thing that plays on a lot of mums' minds, because you're asking them to stop feeding after a year so that they
Right.
can wean off. And another thing is also, if you keep on feeding, your baby is always going to be attached to you. They are going
Attached
to be
to
so
you,
dependent
yes.
on you.
No, I'm yet to see an older baby who's stuck to the mother. I am not. So like babies, they need the attachment,
Yeah,
why
true.
have you given birth otherwise? Why are you just, leaving the baby on the bed and walking off?
Yeah.
If they
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
how to communicate, I'm sure they would say a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
No, and I think that emotional attachment at that stage is, and the security that it provides, I guess, is very, very important for them also to
right.
grow up feeling secure, as an adult.
Yes. True.
Um,
True.
you also touched upon supply demand. So actually today itself
Right.
there's a question from one mom. So the
Okay.
baby is very small. The baby is just around 8 days old. So they are
Okay.
confused about whether they should do a demand feeding, or should they wake up the baby every 2 to 3 hours and feed the baby. Because even as a new mom, I was given an advice that you should wake up the baby every 2 hours and feed even in the night. And it used to be a huge struggle waking them up, feeding them, again making them sleep. So
Right.
what is your is there like a age till when we should do demand feeding, or we should wake them up for 2 hours, or yeah, if you could explain that. Yeah.
Right. So when immediately after birth, the baby loses close to, by the third or the fourth day, the baby loses up to 10% weight. Okay. So we say that within 2 weeks, it's important for the baby to gain that weight back, right?
Okay.
So in that case, we say that the baby should be fed at least within 2 hours. Okay, and once
Okay.
the baby has regained its birth weight, then it's okay to demand feed.
Okay.
So it's very crucial that the baby comes back to its birth weight. Then we know that okay, everything is on track, right? And it's going to be a smooth journey ahead. It's only
Okay.
when we start, sometimes some babies tend to sleep a little longer, like you said, in the beginning they tend to sleep a little
Yeah.
longer. So what happens is then they feed lesser, then the weight drops, and
Okay.
then the doctor recommends formula. So it's again a trap we are falling into,
Okay.
right? So feed, definitely feed as much as possible within till the baby gains birth weight, and after
Okay.
that you can feed on demand.
Okay, great. Okay. So another term that we come across a lot now in breastfeeding is the golden hour feeding, right? So,
Right.
so if you could just talk about golden hour and how important it is for any mom, yeah, and the child, yeah.
Right. So the first hour after birth is known as the golden hour. Okay, so it says, because there are certain practices that needs to be followed. It's golden because it's a very crucial hour. Okay, and it's actually going to set the path ahead. So which is why it is important for the baby to breastfeed immediately within the first hour. Okay?
Okay.
So that is irrespective of whether it's a natural birth or whether it's a C-section, the mother can breastfeed. Of course, unless there's an emergency situation, where the mother or the baby, needs other, immediate attention. But apart from that, it does not, the mother can breastfeed, right?
Okay.
And that milk that they get, the first milk, is called colostrum. Okay, so that's a thick yellow liquid, and it is milk. That's again another myth that people think that, okay,
Yeah,
colostrum is
yeah.
different and milk is different. right? So colostrum, it's a very thick liquid. It's rich in antibodies, and it's actually known as the first vaccine for the baby. Okay, so
Okay.
it builds the immunity system also, because immediately when the baby is out of the womb, it's exposed to a lot of things in the environment, in the outside environment. So the colostrum, the breastfeeding that happens within the first hour actually helps to build up the immunity. So that's why they
Okay.
say it's important, the first hour feeding, the golden hour. Right.
So, and that time, does the baby immediately latch, or how does it happen? I mean, is it like quite smooth for most moms from then on? Um, how does it go? I mean, or many of them start, you know, having those latching issues, from then on.
Right, right. So what happens is generally there is either a lactation consultant or the nurse or the
Okay.
doctor also. They on the table itself immediately after birth, they help to they assist with breastfeeding.
Mm,
Okay, so they just place the baby on the chest, on the mother's chest, and then they help the baby to latch on. After that, when hopefully there's no separation, and the mother and baby are then moved into the room. After that, some mothers do find it, easy, and some mothers do need a little support. So I'm not going
okay.
to say that it's going to be a smooth process, okay? Because there's a learning curve to breastfeeding. It comes naturally to some people, and some people need a little help.
Okay.
Which is why there's a lot of emphasis on breastfeeding classes. It's important to prepare yourself during pregnancy so that you don't panic when such things happen. So it's because again in the hospital what happens is when the mother's not able to latch, they would say, okay, you know what, let's give formula now, and we will try the latch the next time.
Okay.
Okay, so then it's the same thing, they keep saying that every single time, right? So this can be avoided if the mother is aware of, okay, how is the latch supposed to be? How am I supposed to position the baby? Then she's not
Yeah.
panicking, and she knows she is in control.
Yeah.
So, so
Nice.
some people get it and some people just need a little help. It's not difficult, it's just a little support that is always lacking.
Okay. So how exactly do you guys support Sapna? Like, so how does the lactation support work? And what do you guys also do at birth home, during the different stages? Maybe, like you said, you have some classes during pregnancy itself and probably
Right.
later also for some support. So if you could just give us a little more details about it.
Right, right. So we have two sets of classes that's happening at the birth home. So a little portion of breastfeeding is covered in the childbirth classes. Okay.
Okay.
So if anybody enrolls, they are definitely introduced to the important aspects of breastfeeding. And then there's a detailed class also if anybody is interested. We take group classes also, and we take one-on-one also if it's just the couple who's interested. And yeah, so then we take them through from A to Z of the breastfeeding class. And then after that, I mean, if it's somebody who comes to us immediately in the first few days, definitely we help them with latch. Okay, and then cover a little more aspects, whatever doubts they have, baby's not drinking enough, baby's not sleeping, so then sometimes it's associated with breastfeeding, so then we get all of those queries sorted. And so we have different types of consultations that happens at the birth home. So we have, especially now because it's COVID, it gets a little difficult. So we have phone and video consults.
Okay.
We also do have, if anybody wants to come to the center, they are more than welcome to come. And then we have home visits. Now, home visits, because in the time of COVID, it's a little difficult. We need to be aware of the containment zone and all of that. So, unless absolutely necessary, we are not doing home visits at the moment. But if we
Okay.
feel, we start off with a phone or a video, and if there is a necessity, then we definitely do, go to their place.
Okay.
And yeah, so these are, and then we have something called as a lactation lounge, where
Oh.
if the consult, if they feel, if the mother is not really confident with the consult and she wants to spend a longer time, so we have the lactation lounge, which is like 4 hours, so she can just come spend time, like 4 hours at the clinic, and we will be helping her out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's
That's
constant
nice.
support after that also. After the consult also, there's constant support, like through calls and messages. We are definitely following up.
Oh, nice, nice. A lounge seems very comforting, you know. You can come
Yeah.
and lounge around. And as a new
Right.
mom, I think as a new mom, you need as much little bit of that pampering at
Yeah.
least wherever we can.
Right. Yeah. And also, I'll just throw a little light on. It's a group lactation practice. So there are three of us. There's Chetna, Anagha, and myself. So between three of us, it becomes easier. Like, so
Okay.
one person alone is not loaded. So then, so we are able to cover and, give ample support to, everybody who comes to us.
Nice, nice. So you did talk about supply issues. Looking back, like I was telling you, the first 15 days was difficult even for me. But one common like question most moms have is how do they know that the baby is getting enough milk?
Right.
In the sense, sometimes even like this has even made me cry. Sometimes my son will just like keep feeding. He's never satisfied. That too in the night, you're sleepy, you're tired. You're just
Right.
you're just fed up. Like this used to happen until I got used to it and things like that. So how do we
Right.
know that they're being fed enough? It is also important to know that they're fed enough so that we don't end up giving formula. I mean,
Right.
it's both ways. So when someone tells you that give formula, at least you can say no, they're being fed enough. So
Right.
how does a mother know that the baby is okay, doing okay?
Right. First and foremost, they need to ensure that the latch is deep. Okay. When I say deep, a lot of people think that breastfeeding means you just put the nipple in the mouth and the baby is going to start feeding, right? A deep latch would mean you need to get in maximum of the areola inside the baby's mouth. So that is when we know that the baby is going to get sufficient milk. And and breastfeeding is not supposed to hurt. When it hurts, it means you need help. There is something wrong that needs to be fixed, right? Apart from that, then there's always there's a certain pee count. So after 6 days, the baby should have like a minimum 7 to 8 pees in 24 hours. I'm talking about minimum. There can be close to
Okay.
15 to 20 pees also.
Okay.
And then pooping every day is important. And and then baby should be active when it's awake. They should be playing. During awake hours, they should definitely be awake and not cranky, not lethargic. And definitely weight gain. Weight gain. So I do not throw too much emphasis on weight gain because it depends on the parents' genes. Some babies grow, they put on weight a little slow. But what is important is that the weight gain is not stagnant and the weight is not dropping. So as long as there is there's an upward growth in the weight, then they're sorted. So these are the couple of things. So deep latch definitely, pee and poop count, baby's active, and baby's gaining weight. So these are
Okay.
the things. So that's why we say watch the baby, because heavy breast, light breast, leaking, not leaking. These are not signs of enough milk or not. Your
Okay.
baby is going to tell you whether it's doing well or not, whether it's getting
Okay.
enough or not. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So again, when it comes to increasing supply, is it a lot of people recommend certain herbs are recommended, eat this, the diet is recommended. So
Right.
is that again a myth or supply is just to do with what you were saying, feed the baby more and the supply is going to increase? How, or are there any tips that you can give to moms to address this?
Right. So we would just say just have a healthy diet, healthy and nutritious diet. That's all that's important.
Okay.
The problem with having all these herbs and galactagogues and medicines to increase supply is that it's mostly a perceived notion that there's low supply. Okay, it's not that the mother really has a low supply. It's just that when the baby is constantly crying or anything of that sort, then the mother thinks she doesn't have enough. Okay, so
True.
that's like a perceived low supply. So in such cases, when when they start taking all these herbs and galactagogues, the problem is that they already have a good supply. When this boosts the supply, they start having engorgement. And then it's
Okay.
pain. So initially they were, upset that, okay, there's not enough supply. And then now suddenly they are like, okay, in pain and struggling. So, every time they feel there's a low supply, they should just be getting help from a lactation counselor or a consultant, because that person would sit down with you, evaluate your entire situation and then tell you whether it's actually a real condition of low supply or whether it's just a perceived notion. And just, and then we would just support her with, enough information to help her understand that she's doing okay. Sometimes when baby constantly feeds, it's also, a lot of people who come and they're saying a lot of things. When you're feeding, suddenly the baby starts crying and then somebody's like at the back telling, oh, your milk is not enough. So these, when people constantly are passing comments, remarks, it demotivates the mother.
Yeah.
So, so that's why, healthy food, nutritious food, that's all that's important, nothing more than that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, actually, there are, like you said, there are like a lot of people saying a lot of things, especially sometimes relatives come in and say your baby has dropped weight, baby is not looking good, baby's crying, feed them.
Yeah.
It's too much actually for a new mom.
Right,
yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. And so another thing I wanted to ask you about was again, till when do we breastfeed? Are there, if a mother wants to wean, what are the methods she can use?
Right.
Yeah. Is there an age to breastfeed actually?
Okay. So the WHO recommendation is exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. So just your breast milk, nothing else. No water, no honey, no no rice water, etc., etc. Just breast milk for the first 6 months, and continue with solids all the way till 1 year. Okay. Although breast milk will be the main source of nutrition. So solids are just going to be complementary to breastfeeding for the first year, for the second half of the first year. After that, recommendation is to feed for a minimum of 2 years.
Okay.
The average weaning period is actually, when we calculate throughout the world, it's 3.5 to 7 years.
Oh.
So
okay.
that's the average. That's why I was
Average
really
is
upset when
3.5
mine.
to 7, is it?
7 years, yes. We have a
Wow.
lot of moms who's fed for that long.
That's awesome.
Even our consultant Chetna,
Okay.
she's also fed children for really, really long. So I mean,
Oh, nice.
it's amazing.
Nice.
It's great.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That 7 years was like really.
No, I was upset.
Okay.
Mine stopped at 3 years.
No, actually, well, I've always been upset when I stopped, just before he turned 3. That was also because, I really wanted to continue, but then all these myths surrounding me and people telling,
Yes.
like it's enough. What is he getting out? He's getting too attached and things like that. So,
Right.
and you did mention that, Chetna, also, you can breastfeed. I mean, you can stop and start again. And
Yes. So, yeah, I mentioned about Chetna. So Chetna,
Yes.
has an adopted child. So she managed to, relactate. Okay, so she was feeding her older child, and then she had to relactate for the younger one. And she's managed, I think, for around 4 to 5 years, she's fed that baby for this
Nice.
her second child. Yeah. So
Nice.
it's possible.
Awesome.
Relactation is possible. It requires a lot of patience. It takes a lot
Okay.
of time. It differs from body to body.
Okay.
And it takes a lot of your energy because you need to be pumping, you need to be taking medication if required, and pumping definitely. And there are time, there's a schedule that you need to maintain. So when we go off the schedule, that could cause an effect. The mother is not supposed to be stressed. So there's a procedure that you keep following. So for some it might work in a few weeks. They'll start seeing an increase in the supply. Some might take a little longer. So which is why we always say, we don't say, okay, it's not magic that's going to we just, by the time we finish a consult, this is going to happen, right? It's going to take a lot of time for it.
Nice. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to yeah. So another thing I wanted to cover was we had talked about it again. Any gentle weaning methods? How does it
Yes.
happen? Like
So after 2 years, because minimum is the recommendation is 2 years. So after 2 years, we would say you can start limiting your feeds. It's important to drop 1 feed at a time. because your body needs to slowly get used to it. Suddenly, if you go cold turkey on, on weaning, um, there's a possibility that you'll have engorgement, right?
Okay.
So it's important that we take it one at a time. The body gets used to, okay, that one feed has been dropped, and then after a few days, we drop another feed. So it's a gradual process. It's never recommended to go cold turkey, okay? And
Okay.
continuous talking to the child is helpful. Okay, because that's also why I think probably they recommend 2 years, because after 2 years when you start talking, and they understand. Like for mine, for my daughter, it was easy for me to tell her, okay, we're just going to have when we go to sleep, and she was okay with it. She slowly
Oh,
understood.
nice.
So we went on like that, and then she slowly started dropping her. So when sleep went, she only said, okay, no more afternoon naps, so no more feeding. So
Okay.
that's why I had to see, a lot of people think that, okay, children don't self wean. Okay, they are like, okay, this is like a never ending process, and also elders are and also you have elders telling you that, oh my god, this is never going to end, you should stop, you should restrict feeds right now.
Yeah.
So but then that's why I had to throw light on the average weaning period, like 3.5 to 7. So have patience, go with the flow, and after 2 years you can start talking to your child, and and set boundaries, like we might just breastfeed at home, we'll not breastfeed when you're outside, so those kind of things they understand. That's why like I said, maybe that's why they said recommended is 2 years. So after that, then they kind of understand, even they can converse, they can tell you what their feelings are, so it becomes a lot more easier.
Yeah.
And we are totally against applying something on your breast. I think that's
Oh God,
very
that's
cruel.
what I did. So.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. God. Oh God, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, perfect.
Because it's like, I mean, it's such a beautiful journey, and
Yeah, I
then
know.
you had such a great time for 2 years, 3 years, and why would you do something harsh?
Don't ask
Right?
me.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. No, I'm going to think it's going to be. I won't blame you. I'm going to say it's like people around you who guided you to do it. No, but yes, I'm sorry about that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's one of the usual, quite traditional methods, right? To put something
Yeah, like apply
bitter.
neem or termite cream.
Yeah.
But then, some children are so smart, they'll be like, okay, I'll clean it off and then, start feeding again, So, yeah. So gentle weaning is, you talk to the child, do it slowly, drop one feed at a time. It will happen. You just need time and patience, like how you had the patience to breastfeed for 2 years. It's going to be, it's going to be a gradual process. It's not possible that, okay, you tell your child we're going to stop feeding and they're going to stop immediately. Okay, they are going to be thrown off guard as to, oh my god, why has my mother stopped feeding? So you slowly talk to her, talk to the child, and and you get into an understanding level. It becomes a lot more easier. No more tears and all of that. So yeah, that's what we recommend at the
Okay.
birth home.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, and okay, there was one question on is latching during night different? I mean, some moms, one question was on latching during night. Is it any different from latching during the day? Having
No, it's
issues
not.
during the night? No, not at all.
No, it's not. Unless you are lying down and feeding, and both of you fell asleep, and the baby's latch went off, and the baby starts biting. Yeah. Apart from that, no, it's the same.
Okay.
So,
So
there's no
since,
difference. Of course, you need to
since-
feed in the night, because oxytocin, is released, in the night, and you're less stressful, and they say the supply is more during the night. So yes,
Okay.
so whether you're pumping or you're feeding directly, yes, you shouldn't be skipping the nights. But
Okay.
latch wise, no, nothing changes.
Nothing changes,
It's the
right?
same, no.
Okay. Okay. So since we're talking about lying down and feeding, so what would be the best positions to breastfeed? Is there some recommended position which makes it easier for the mom and the baby, or it's just up to each mom, whatever comfortable?
I would say it's what is comfortable for the mother and the baby. It doesn't matter, because I have at 3 months I have fed my baby walking, because she refused. Like every time I would sit down, she would howl, and I knew she was hungry. So then I would be like, okay, let's just walk and feed, right? So a lot of mothers find it comfortable lying down because most of them have, not most, I'm sorry, some of them have back pain, or any other issues, say for example, piles, or so then sitting for a long time becomes really difficult, right? So then the only comfortable position is lying down. So then you lie down and feed, and
Okay.
and it becomes easier during the night also because then you have, like, you can just latch the baby and you're sorted. Like, you don't need to get up, sit. So that sometimes frustrates a lot of mothers. Okay,
Correct.
because you're just a new mother, you're trying to catch up on sleep, and then every time you need to sit up and feed. Okay, that's more exhausting. So if you can just
Yeah.
lie down and latch the baby on, then it's bliss. You get your sleep also, and there's not
Yeah.
you're not moving too much. Even
Yeah. True.
imagine in the night you have to take the baby, put the baby on your lap, feed again. By the time you put the baby down, so like, so yeah. So all of this can be avoided if it's just lying down and feeding. Yeah.
Okay. Great. No,
Right,
even
and
I
whatever
used to find
comfortable
lying
position.
down. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very relaxing actually lying down and feeding
Yes.
anytime. I
Yeah.
would say as long as we don't go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, and so another question is on expressing milk. So again, is there a recommended, we should express like just like how we are feeding? Is there a recommended time or interval to express the milk? Um,
Right.
whatever, what will make it easier?
So when you're saying expressing, this is with direct feeding or just expressing?
Expressing milk, not direct feeding.
Okay. So
Uh,
for somebody who is just expressing, we need to stimulate the breast like just how a baby would do it, right? So if the baby feeds minimum 8 to 10 times in 24 hours, that's how many times you should be pumping.
okay.
So which is at least every 3 hours you should be pumping. Because that is going to tell the body, okay, you know what, these are the times that you need to, I'm going to take out milk, so you need to be making that much, right? So if you have like like today you pumped 2 times, tomorrow 5 times, so the body is not used to it. The body doesn't understand, okay, it needs to make more milk, it needs to make milk for 5 times, okay, because you started at 2, so that's what the body knows. So it's going to make 2 for 2,
Okay.
enough for 2, and then the supply will be lesser when you pump every other time. So that's why it's very important, for pumping and especially relactation, it's important to have like a schedule when
Schedule.
you're pumping. Yeah.
Okay. So for moms who are doing both, like some moms also go to office and come back. So during the day they need to express the milk and keep it and go, and they come back and probably breastfeed the baby. So then for
Yes.
them, how do they manage? Like, because this interval of 3 to 4 hours might not exactly work for them.
So what they would need to, so for every hour that the mother is going to be away from the baby, she should have 30 ml milk backup. So if she's going to
Okay.
be away for 8 hours, that's 240 ml. She needs to have that 240 ml backup. So which means she needs to start pumping at least 1 month before she goes to work. Okay,
Okay.
because your body needs to get used to the pump. You have been only direct breastfeeding all this while, right? So then the body needs to, you need to understand if the pump is working. There'll be, some people are okay with a manual pump, some people are okay with an electric pump, so different bodies react differently to different pumps. Okay, so you need that 1 month time, because one day before, if you start, the mother's just going to be so stressed out, and she'll be like, okay, nothing is falling into that bottle, what do I do? So start 1 month before, definitely. And within those 8 hours you are away, at least you should be able to put in 2 or 3 sessions of pumping, if not every 3 hours. Okay, at least within at least 2 to 3 times you should be able to pump. So that should work. And also, after 1 year, it's okay if you're not pumping, and it's okay to just directly breastfeed when you're together. Because the main source of nutrition from breast milk is only for the first year. Right. So after that, it's okay if she doesn't pump. So a lot of them have, 6 months maternity leave, and then, with their other leaves and all of that, they kind of adjust and
Extend
they
for a year.
pull it off to, pull it off to 1 year. For the others, I would say, start talking to your companies and find out if you have like a breastfeeding, a room, where you can sit down and pump. It takes a lot because not all, companies are just slowly opening up to this thought of, oh my God, mothers are going to come and express. So start those conversations early. They will set up a room for you. Okay, and then it'll be easier. So every 2 to 3 hours, if it's a closed room, just take your computer and go and sit in that room and pump while you're working. So it shouldn't be difficult. Although now, of course, we know with COVID, it's not too much of a concern right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, okay. So there's another question on, I'm not sure exactly what this term means, overactive letdown. Do you know this term? So,
yes. So overactive letdown is when the milk comes down in full force, and when the baby is not able to handle it, and the baby, some babies choke on it. Some babies manage to control that over letdown. It's like, imagine you open a pipe in full force, like there's a lot of water coming at a time. So, I'm sorry, can you just repeat the question? How do you handle overactive letdown?
No, it's just about how do you handle overactive letdown, that's it. Yeah.
Right. So one would be a laid back feeding. Okay, so you latch the baby and then move back. So generally it's because of, when you're sitting up straight, then gravity, that the breast is hanging down and it comes down with full force. When you go back, you're going against gravity, so it's only how much the baby is going to pull, right? Or you hold up the baby's, head up and you feed. So it's like a straight feed. Yeah? So these are just, couple of ways that you can try to handle overactive letdown. And also maybe find out why, if you also have, if you have been eating food that is, causing excess supply. So then you can maybe just fix it in your diet, and then your supply regulates, and then you'll not have overactive letdown. So these are just a couple of tips. There are a lot more things you can try out.
Okay. Right. So there was another question. These were on our stories, these questions. Again on menstrual cycle and breastfeeding. So for some time you do not get your menstrual cycle after birth, but once you get your menstrual cycle, is there an effect on breastfeeding? Are they even related?
Right. So some do. I mean, some others say that they find that there's a dip in supply, and some others feel that the supply has increased. So it works. I think it just differs from body to body. The only thing you need to worry about is just continuing with feed. Just keep feeding. Don't bother. If there was a dip in supply, the baby will feed. Cause the demand and supply, and work out your supply. So there's no need for you to panic just because you started your periods. You might just find that the baby is coming back to the breast a few more times. That's about it. So, otherwise nothing changes in breastfeeding as such. Just continue to breastfeed.
Okay, great. Okay. And what are milk pimples? So I'm also learning a lot of terms. So
you should start breastfeeding classes.
Or baby acne, that's what they have. That's a question.
Do they mean milk blisters? I'm assuming they are talking about milk blisters.
Yes, probably, yeah.
So, it's a white spot that causes, that comes on the nipples. So milk blisters is generally because the milk is not being extracted properly. Okay. So you you need to ensure that there is deep latch, and and the baby is extracting milk properly. And again, no eating, unnecessary galactogogues causing excess supply. Baby is drinking only how much it needs, but there's your medicines have caused excess supply. So you just and keep feeding. That's all. The baby is going to break open the blister. So once you have a deep latch, it works. Okay. There's no problem.
Okay. Great. Okay.
It's painful, yes, but if you get a deep latch, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. So guys, if you've joined any questions, please do ping us directly here now, because I will not be able to see my stories. I'm just going to go through questions here now. I think we've already covered this, but let me just read out this question. Can feeding in lying position harm the baby? Is the baby more prone to ear infections? Is there any connection?
That's what we hear in the hospitals. Don't feed in lying position. Please sit up and feed always. Sit on a chair. You shouldn't have any other position. what I want to say is that irrespective of what position the mother is in, the baby is always in the lying down position. So whether the
Yeah,
mother standing, sitting, walking, baby is still, like this, sleeping. So how does it make a difference if the mother is also just lying down? No, so that
Yeah.
is a myth. No, there is no, there's no connection.
Okay, great. Okay. So how would we know if the baby is feeding for comfort or actually nursing? So is it okay if the baby is just feeding for comfort? Yeah.
Yes, it is okay if the baby is just feeding for comfort, but you will get to know when the latch starts. So a baby's latch, the active sucking is different. It'll be just going like this, and then it slows down when the baby is just falling into sleep. The latch, the pressure and the movements slow down. So then you will get to know. But even if the baby is active and and you still feel that okay, is she comfort sucking, or is the baby comfort sucking, or is the baby is really hungry, I would say it doesn't matter. Don't we all have comfort foods?
Yeah,
Like
true.
we like I for me it's like a chai or a coffee. So I would just sit down, if there's something troubling me, I'll sit down with a coffee mug. The baby doesn't know anything else. Baby knows only breastfeeding, right? So then
Yeah,
just put the
yeah.
baby to the breast. If that's going to comfort your baby, then why not,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
True, true. So even my son, like whatever emotional issues or he was upset or especially while getting hurt, right? That was like the first comfort thing I remember. It used to really
Right.
help. It was comforting for
Right.
me also that I could
Yeah.
comfort. It was
Yeah,
both
like okay,
ways.
nothing else. Just put the breast into the
Come on,
mouth, and
give
you're
it
like
to man.
sorted.
You've done.
It's like your magic wand to all your
Yeah,
problems. Like you have a
yeah.
problem, okay, come breastfeed, sorted. Yeah.
True. Yeah, that's true. So here's another question. My baby is 5 months old. Baby immediately poops after feeding, sometimes 7 times a day. Is that okay?
What you can check is, are you having too many dairy products? Are you drinking too much milk? And if that is the case, if because there's a myth again that drinking milk makes more milk, but it just backfires in most cases. Okay, so as long as the poop is clear and and it's not smelling, so then there is no problem. But if you're in doubt, definitely check with your doctor. You can try by eliminating dairy from your diet and see if that is making a difference.
Okay, so all dairy products, if they are having this issue.
Yeah, so like milk, if you're having excess of milk, some people drink close to 1 liter milk a day, and that's like too much.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so so then that causes, then babies throwing up or constantly pooping. So, so you can, just to avoid all of that, you can try, if you're having too much milk, just eliminate it. If that works, great. If not,
Okay.
just make sure that, okay, there's no baby's not having any infection. It's not smelling, the color is not different, then it's okay. But if you're still in
Okay.
doubt after this, then please check with your doctor.
Okay, all right. So there are two questions. I think they can be combined. So one says, how long should one feed last? Okay. And the other one is a 5-minute latch different from a 15 minutes latch? Is the baby drinking less in 5 minutes? How do we know? So if you think it
Okay,
can
so
be
it'll all
combined.
depend
Yeah.
on the baby's age here, actually.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so older babies, what happens is they get better at sucking. So for them, it's like, okay, 5 minutes is so where they used to drink maybe 15 minutes, they might just finish it off in 5 minutes and get up and go. They would also be older babies start getting distracted when they're more aware of their surroundings. Okay, there's light and all of that. So they'll just come, have a few sips, and then they suddenly look at the fan and oh, it's so fascinating. So then they'll keep looking at the fan, or somebody just walked by and then they want to see, okay, who's that and what have they worn, the colors. So yes, for older babies, it's distracting. For younger babies, you just need to make sure the latch is deep. Okay, especially newborn babies, just as long as it's a deep latch, then it does not matter. Okay, so some babies drink for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, it's okay. But if you just need to understand that the baby is actively sucking through that time, that is more key. Because if the baby is just going to fall asleep at the breast, then you're like every 5 minutes, then you're just going to sit there for 2-3 hours.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then there's no movement, right? So you just need to make sure the baby is, actively sucking and, filling up the stomach and, ensuring that, okay, the baby's fed properly and happy. So then they let go. Either they'll start getting playful or they will fall asleep. Either one will start. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, how to get the baby back to breast when baby is being exclusively bottle fed?
Okay. For bottle-fed babies, there are a couple of things that you need to try. One is you need to do a lot of skin to skin. Okay, you have to place, when I say skin to skin, it's like at least minimum 1 to 2 hours. You just need to place the baby on you skin to skin and stay. Okay, and you need to do that as much as you can. You need to try offering the breast at different hours of the day because you don't know when the baby might just start sucking. So you need to try at different times. You need to try at different positions, different places in the house. Sometimes they get bored of the room. They want to go feed in the hall. So that kind of a thing. Then there is, bottle feeding. You need to ensure that when you hold the bottle upside down, the milk is not leaking through the nipple. So you need to ensure, irrespective of the baby age, you need to ensure that the nipple is a zero nipple, size 0, or a premature nipple. So when you hold it upside down, it's not leaking. So with that, you're getting the baby to imitate, the same sucking procedure like at the breast. So it has to suck for the milk to come out. And also you need to follow paced bottle feeding. So you don't hold the bottle like this to feed the baby. You need to hold it straight to the mouth. You need to hold the head up, and and just slightly comes out to here, and then you're doing this. You let the baby suck. You can't, when you do this, there's no work. The baby is just going to hold the nipple and then suddenly it's all going to start flowing.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are just, again, couple of things that you can try.
Okay. So I'm going to take the last question now because soon we'll have to wind up.
Right.
This is very long term, especially one mother has asked about herbal paste. But we've already talked about all the herbal paste, right? Saying that it might not be exactly needed. A good diet is enough.
Correct.
Okay.
Herbal paste, does she mean for weaning? It's not recommended.
So she's
again that's already covered.
Talked about Janam Gutti. So I'm not sure.
Yes. Please do not give any of these things to the baby. Some babies can react to it. And that's the last thing we need, a baby reacting, to unwanted things that we have given. It's not recommended, just breast milk. That's all the baby needs.
Okay, great. Okay. So another mom has said that she's feeling quite stressed, sitting and feeding, especially at night. So you've said, right, sitting and feeding is not needed for night. You can lie down and feed.
Yes,
I guess
please lie down and feed.
Great, yeah. So the last question, so one person has said 21 months old, I'm still breastfeeding. I want to know till when can I continue. So again, we have addressed this question. So till 2 years you can continue and then start weaning, try the gentle weaning methods.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sapna, just to ask you, so what is what are the tips or what is the best advice that you would give to new moms or expectant moms with respect to their breastfeeding journey that you think will really help them?
Right. So new moms, definitely, please, take a breastfeeding class. It's really, really important. Like I said in the beginning, at least you're not going to panic. You know what's ahead, and something happens, okay, I'm in control. I know what the situation is. I know how to handle it. That is definitely for pregnant, expecting moms. For new moms, or for any mom for that matter, when in doubt, please seek help. Sometimes what happens is, they have a sore nipple and they say, okay, it might heal. They try a lot of home remedies, ghee and, I don't know what, or coconut oil and a lot of things they keep trying, right? It doesn't, and they think it'll get fixed in the next 3-4 days. But the problem is the latch. So if the latch is not fixed, whatever you do to your sore nipple, the baby is still going to bite on it. Yeah. And it's still, and the cut is just going to get deeper. right?
Correct.
So to avoid all of this, whenever in doubt, always seek help. Even low supply, you are not always going to have a low supply. So get in touch with a lactation consultant, get your situation evaluated, and they will tell you what to do. So these are the two things for expectant moms: definitely breastfeeding class, and second, always seek help when in doubt.
Okay.
And don't wait, especially if you're in pain or some sort of a doubt, or you're worried about something. Don't wait, get help.
Okay. 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 So I'll just take one more question and then we'll wind down. There's just
Yeah.
probably another 3-4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Any idea about nipple confusion? Is there
Nipple
something like that?
preference, yes. So
Okay.
nipple confusion is when you have introduced bottle also. So you're trying to bottle feed and breastfeed. So yes, some babies prefer the bottle. So and some babies reject the bottle and stay at the breast itself. So yes, it's possible. It's more of a preference, lesser of a confusion.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot. I think we have addressed a lot of questions. I've also learned a
Yes.
lot of new terms. So I'm
Yes.
going to be pinging you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pinging you with a lot of questions. I
So it's
think there
fun.
might be more questions in our stories too. So if there is
Okay.
anything, we can always address it on our stories. I'll ping you back. So folks, if
Okay.
there is anything more, do ping us. You can also reach out to Birth Home. Like Sapna said, they have classes, they have consultations with respect to lactation. They also do, I think, online one-to-one sessions. So please do reach out to them if you have any issues or doubts with respect to your breastfeeding. Like I said, breastfeeding is a very, very personal, intimate, and beautiful, beautiful journey with your child.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So please do reach out to them. And thanks a lot, Sapna.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. See you.
Take
See you.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Take care.